is the all-new Brackett Show. Brackett Show. And now, here's Chris Brackett.
Giant deer, dude. Giant deer.
They're coming.
It's sweet November. Giant monsters. That's all I do right now. I'm addicted to my phone, going through as fast as I can, swiping, swipe right, swipe left. I feel like I'm making a love connection with some of these bucks.
Something. I mean, I do know that you are in love with whitetail.
Oh, I love whitetails. I wish that I could have pet deer in my backyard, that I could study them and feed them and pet them. And they have no correlation with me hunting the wild ones, but I really do wish that I had just a half acre with all kinds of different whitetails in there that I could just study them, find out when they're sleeping, find out when they're just sitting there chewing their cud, if they're up, acting frisky and frantic, and I could give a really good report on what is going on, like live, you know what I'm saying? Like, I really think that is my future, whether it's at my farm or at another farm. I think that's the next step to studying whitetails more than I already do it. This is the Brackett Show, episode 11. I'm a whitetail addict, really.
That's true. Mm-hmm. That's true. We talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it makes you good at your job,
mm-hmm.
right? Mm-hmm. That's why people tune in.
And I married the perfect woman that lets me and wants me to go study and love on my whitetails. I'm also a half polar bear, so I love the cold. There is a little part of freezing my tail off while waiting and watching and doing whitetail wonderland stuff.
That's like part of the joy for you, right?
Oh, being cold, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a layering guy. I'm a guy that, I got my merino wool. I got my natural layers. I got my layers of like kind of an Under Armour-esque, I don't know what they're made out of, poly something, and then you've got your outer layers, your shell. But if the people that have been around me in my circle and hunted with me, number one thing, quiet.
Ooh, you need
like
the quiet.
I walk through a store and I like feel the material. And I
okay,
listen.
yeah.
Well, you're a sound guy. You would get this. I feel like
yeah.
Trump right now. You would get the sound, huge. You would get the sound, and I like to know if I can move and get my rangefinder out, and you can picture the temperature difference with the different materials. Like a micro fleece is really good.
Yeah, no, like swishy pants.
Listen, my friend Joe is probably listening right now, and you want to freak me out? Wear a ski vest.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You wear one of them around me in deer season, and I have like a nervous,
you hear it coming miles away. Yeah, like
a nervous tick starts going off. Yeah, it's pretty crazy because it's all about the sound for me. Whether it's in a blind, you got kind of the bass. You got kind of the bass going on in the blinds. I even freak out in the blinds because I feel that those deer can feel. Well, you might be able to tell me. Vibrations. Everything, energy has vibrations. Yeah. I feel that those deer feel the vibrations. And there is a difference between like ting, 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 like metal on metal.
Yeah.
And then like wood.
Sure.
Like a wood natural vibrations rather than metally, non-nature vibrations. What do you think of that?
Well, I mean, there are different.
What do you know about humans? Like,
yeah, well, so like if you're talking frequency ranges, like you can hear, like if a semi drives by or something, you feel and hear that low rumble versus something that's higher pitched. Now, I'm sure I'm sure the deer could literally feel that because the ground will rumble. I don't know. I mean, there is a difference certainly between like the higher pitch stuff and the lower pitch. The thing that's funny, like in the studio that we're in right now, I have stuff set up to capture all the different frequency ranges. So there's like really thick, dense material that captures the lower frequencies. And then there's like thinner stuff, like the foam that you see, like it's kind of stereotypical in a studio, like that's in the vocal booth, but that only captures like the high frequencies and it leaves the low. And so it's a matter of like, I actually am, like the room that you're in is like completely set up in a certain way, the way the sound bounces around.
That you like?
No, that makes it neutral. So
Okay.
so everything sounds exactly how the source sounds, because a room has a sound to it. Like if you're in a cathedral or if you're in a bathroom, like they have different sounds, right? And so where you're at, all we should be able to hear is the source, in this case, your voice. So it should sound just like you. It shouldn't be reverberant. It shouldn't be whatever.
Hey, can you come soundproof my diamond blinds even more than they already are? I think the diamond blinds are already really nice.
Yeah.
But could you like bring in the egg carton thing?
Yeah, so what I would do, honestly, if I were to soundproof, what I would use is there's a product called, it's by Roxel or like Rockwool. I think maybe they changed the brand name. And what it is it's kind of like, it's different than fiberglass. It's actually ground up stone, and then they like kind of weave it together. But it's really dense material. They'll use it in between walls. I have so much between. There's a whole thing there. But
whole
anyway,
theory. But like this is real.
If you were to install
real.
that stuff, it really would help.
Let's do an
sound-wise.
experiment.
I don't. Yeah, but the biggest weakness when it comes to sound is windows and doors, and obviously a blind is going to have that. So
well, when I had Diamond Blinds custom make me a blind, I asked my guy, Joel. I asked him to use less windows because I'm catching what you're putting down here.
Yeah.
I have less windows to absorb that sound in the back and for darkness.
Sure. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, yeah, I actually consult with for other people who are building studios to help them know, like, hey, you should do this and you should do that. And yeah, I am as anal about sound as you are about hunting whitetails.
Stands and perfection.
Oh, there's so much there. Like
angles.
Most people who are watching this don't care about it, so I won't bore you too much other than to say there is a lot of science and physics behind sound, and I could talk and have talked for hours about it.
It's number one on the whitetail list besides wind for me. So after the wind, then it becomes silence. And then it becomes like, how do you walk through the woods and I'm going to try to do a big word here, bipedal cadence, which is two-legged animal walking through the woods or on the ground, and the vibrations that causes, and the difference between what the deer hears and how he doesn't respond and how he does respond.
Sure, like a difference between you with 2 legs versus 4 legs?
Yes, and then where a deer's like, like, and a squirrel, like they're always bouncing around, and rabbits, and difference.
I would like to see you walk on all fours, though, that to help mitigate the situation. That would be something.
Well, if my back keeps doing what it's doing, I'll be walking on all fours.
You won't be able to help it.
No, I'll be crawling to the stand. I do have this one big log that I have to go underneath to get to one of my stands, and I told Jody, I'm like, I'm definitely not a spry little guy anymore to go underneath this. I mean, it's a giant oak tree that fell, and I got to get down to go underneath it. Well, last night I was crossing. My neighbor's got a little fence, and I was making sure the fence was down. So I went over to check the fence, and I was coming back, and I actually had to. This is when you know you're getting old. I either climbed over the barbed wire fence or I rolled under. I chose under. I went to go over it, and I even had a tree to grab onto, and I went, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. If I'm already on the ground and I just rolled under, I'm good. I can't get hurt.
Yeah,
worst thing is going to happen. I'm going to rip my shirt.
Oh, man, you don't want to end up somewhere in between over and under. Like, if you're right there in it. Oh, man.
So that literally went through my old brain last night, was like, I'm going to go ahead and slither under.
See, that's wisdom that's come with your age, too, right? You're like, nope.
Well, that, and I just pictured me like caught, my pants tangled up, caught on this barbed wire, me flipped over.
And you'd probably sound like the Elmo that we talked about in the last episode, right? Yeah. Your voice would... Whoop.
And I'd be dialing the phone, be like, can somebody come get me? I am like a turtle upside down with my legs caught in a barbed wire. So we got episode 11. It's Sweet November. We said we were going to talk about the rut. People have been calling in about all kinds of stuff, but I know the number one topic this last week for people calling in was the rut, styles of hunting, what do I do? The weather should have got here by now. If you're listening to this of the day it broke, it should be November 1, sweet November. Hunt mornings, hunt long, hunt often, and be ready. Make sure you got your tag signed and you got your, you got stuff in your pockets ready to sit all day. If, people go like, hey, Chris, do you sit all day during the rut? And I tell them I go out with the mentality of if it starts happening and the cameras start going off while I'm out there and I'm watching does and their tails are flickering and they're panting and you got little bucks going crazy and it's happening that day, I have been stuck in the blind or in a stand with like 0 food, 0 water, 12-hour sit. And so you want to keep, my wife always sends me with like a payday bar in my pocket, or I really should find a water bottle or some type of water source that I could, because I don't take a backpack, I don't take a bag, I don't take anything to the woods with me. Like I barely take a call if it won't fit in my pocket. And so like when I go in, if I have to commit to that full day, I'm committing to the full day dehydrated and hungry all day long because I'm in it. So I probably should be more conscious, but I don't take a backpack. You're not going to catch me up there like, let's have a picnic. Let's have a picnic up here, because the minute I know that I reach around to my backpack and I pull out a sandwich or some chips or something, the minute I open that sucker, I'm going to look to the left and there's the biggest, giantest, most massive mega buck I've ever seen standing there like, what's up? What are you having for lunch?
I can just imagine you like sitting there like chomping on potato chips, like, yeah. And just deer all run away.
Oh, yeah. Like, well, every once in a while, no matter how good you are, like I'm a swivel man. I pay attention to every movement, every squirrel, whatever. And sometimes, even like last year, I was hunting 8x, looking into the pines. I had this, I actually got this deer on camera. He used to be a 7-pointer. Now he's a 9. He's actually bedded up there. The does are walking back and forth. The turkeys, and these turkeys fly down and they're walking around in front and I got to be quiet. And there's a couple raccoons and, it was like the enchanted forest awakening in front of me. And I passed up this 10-pointer and all these bucks or whatever. And then right when I got ready to leave, I just turned around to make one little look around to make sure I didn't, mess up or miss something. And I look behind me and there is the monster Boone and Crockett, 300 pounder, 8x standing there at 32 yards. And he's just standing there and he's like looking at this doe, drinking water and eating leaves behind me. And, I had to get up, turn around and pull off the shot as he kind of did the turn around to leave. I stuck him and killed him and I was tagged out and my dream came true right then. But that's why I wasn't eating chips, because it was about 9:30 in the morning. And if I got a little hungry, I would have got distracted. And so I try not to get distracted.
You're focused.
You may not find me in the gym being focused in the gym, but you will find that when I'm in the zone, I'm in the zone. I don't need to get distracted by a sandwich or a snack or a water bottle or a bag or blind calling or rattling. I think maybe I should talk about that. Hopefully you got a question for like blind calling and rattling. And what I say right now, the end of October right now, with it being really stale, and we just kind of got off of a really late October stale system, and we've got a little bit of weather. It might be perfect time for calling, but when that system's really stale and those deer aren't frenzied up yet, you can't really fool them by going burp, burp, and calling, because if there's not a lot of wind and not a lot of commotion, you can't really fool that older animal. They're not the same animal that we used to chase in the early 90s that hadn't heard a million grunt calls. Now everybody's got a grunt call and a rattle bag or a, whatever. And it's like, you hear in the woods, burp, 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 and calling to these deer. And these deer have heard it before. And most guys ruin it because when these deer are a year and a half or 2 years old, they're like, I'm bored. I'm going to go ahead and just grunt at that little guy out there. Burp, burp, burp. And that buck comes in and he gets downwind and smells you and then associates the fact where burp, burp, burp of grunting is, associated with a human, the boogeyman. And then you wonder why when he's 5 years old, he comes out in the field and you go, burr, and that deer's like, deuces, and he just takes off the other direction. You're like, why didn't the call work? It should have worked. And it's like, well, it's because every idiot on the planet has called at him his whole life with no intention of shooting him, just playing with him and like, he'll never remember. You're calling at him in his living room, man. It'd be like, hey, Chris, come over here. And you're like, get out of here, dude. You're in my living room.
That would be weird if you were just sitting there talking like that.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of calls, you can call us
at the landline.
At the landline, yeah, which is
309-761-5263. 309-761-5263. And that is where you can call and ask anything you want. I don't always have to answer, but they can ask anything they want. And sometimes some people just call with great stories of the past with me or whatever. And, like last episode, we had a guy call that, blew my cover. I'm a big mean guy that everybody, doesn't necessarily like all the time. And he was telling a nice story. So he blew my cover. I'm actually a nice teddy bear. Big teddy bear. Do you have time for a wake-up call?
I think I've always got time for a wake-up call.
All right, this is the wake-up call brought to you by Hunting Day Coffee. This right here is a medium roast Burman pecan cattle drive. Check it out. And the back says, how good and pleasant is it when God's people live together in unity. Psalm 133:1. And Hunting Day Coffee, thanks for bringing great coffee to hunters all over the planet.
All right, man, let's wake up.
Wakey, wakey, wakey.
Wake up.
Hey, Chris, this is Blake from Decatur, Illinois.
What up, Blake?
I just want to say thank you for being so transparent with life in general. Don't give that up. And definitely feel for you. I lost my mother, too, about a year ago to the day here. And so I understand what you're going through in that respect, and appreciate all the advice that you keep giving us all. It truly helps. My question today is, I've got a spot I have permission to hunt. It's not my own, and I got to stand up in there, and it's a business development. So you're getting noise from some from people, but cars and everything. The deer are accustomed to that.
Vibrations.
I feel
we were
like.
talking about it.
So, but what I'm having an issue with, last year I was seeing several big bucks show up, but they're all nocturnal. They're showing up at 1, 2 in the morning. Is there a way that, or is it even possible for them to daylight and get in a position where you can even get a shot at one of them early evening? It's very difficult, I feel like, and wanted to see if you had any ways of doing that or experience with it. Appreciate you, man. Take care and keep pushing through. God bless you.
Well, prayers for you with, dealing with the loss of your mother. There's a lot of people out there that still have mothers. They might not get along with them, but your mom is there for you to win. She's the only one that truly unconditionally loves your butt. So shout out to moms out there, man. They're the best. And when you lose them, I'm dealing with the fact that I think about my mom every day, and she was my biggest fan, and she'd be so excited. Chris, she would be here every Tuesday. She'd have me pick her up. She'd be sitting right here. She'd be cold in here today, but she would love
So she
it.
was not, you don't get your polar bear nature from her.
Nope, nor my dad. I don't know where I get it. But my nephew Trip is like a polar bear. He always short sleeve, freezing cold, but he's also a big dude too. I don't know if that has something to do with it, but he runs hot. What we're looking at here is when I hear information he's given me enough information in the question that's like, okay, I've got a bunch of big deer, bunch meaning 3, let's say. I catch them doing stuff, and I catch them slipping at the nighttime. So I've got, dark photos of these bucks. The first thing I go to in my brain, if I was walking through this, and this is what I recommend for him, if it falls in his budget and it falls on his heart to hire me as an online consult, let me paint that picture. That picture is my computer in my office, on Onyx or on one of the apps that talk about topography, talk about mapping. I've got photos of a lot of different things that I can pull up. We screen share them. It's $3.50 an hour. We get into it for an hour. We really map out the property and go, okay, like, what do you see here? What is your information? Where are your cameras? Where's the topography? Where are your stands? Are they sensing you? Have you been hunting any mornings in October? Are you getting into these bedding areas? How and where, industrial wise, are they being affected by the noise or by the commotion? I know that in the industrial, in the backyard type scenarios, in this case is what he's describing, I use that noise to my advantage. One, you'll have, if you pay attention, you'll have a lot of commotion at certain times of the day, whether that's a dumpster coming to get and make a lot of noise. Sometimes that's a way to time that to get into that tree or get into that blind. Sometimes you've got commotion. I know of one place that on a consult, we were looking at a road that goes into a trash dump, a site where they're dumping trash. So using the road, they will, the bigger deer or the deer in general, will pay attention to the fact if a truck doesn't stop. Something that's in habit, like trucks going back and forth, never stopping, hearing the road, hearing the tires on the gravel is something they get really numb to. But if that car stops, if that truck stops, if that changes, then they'll alert. So how do you beat that? Do you drive your car in or your truck into a certain area and then walk back? Drive by them to where they're used to that, then stop, then walk back, and then come into a property like that. Number 2 is I am going to look at 365 days of intel. And what that means is 365 days, 1 year earlier to the day or to within the 48-hour period, most of the big, mature 5, 6, 7-year-old animals are killed with information from a year earlier. So the number one thing I would say to this gentleman is find your trail cameras from last year, when those deer were moving through your area, when they were hitting scrapes in your area, when some of those does were coming into heat, and look at your trail cameras from last year at this time, and then they will do the same thing. They are creatures of habit down to the minute. I can't tell you how many big deer that I have paid attention to at 3 and 4 and 5 years old and then killed them at 6 and 7 years old because they were so set on a clock. Take for example, somebody that we may know goes on vacation every year, 4th of July, every year at Thanksgiving, they take their kids to, Destin, Florida or whatever. Like, you can set your clock by them. That's how these bigger deer are. They're set in their ways. They know that they're going to be here for a little while, then they're going to do this. And within 48-hour period of that time, that's the reason I'm hunting this deer, the big deer where I'm hunting him, is because I know that the 2 or 3 years prior, the end of October and the beginning of November, his butt is standing in daylight in this corner. He just hasn't done it yet. He's going to do it within the next couple days. Like, every day he doesn't do it is closer to me getting him because he is going to do it. So play the card in front of him. Don't chase him. And what that means is, like, don't wait for the camera to go off and then make a move. Make a move knowing that the camera is going to go off and he's going to be standing there in daylight. So if they're not showing up in daylight, there might be a pressure issue with like where they're bedding, and then them knowing where you are. So I would say do as much observation sitting while still being in the game. But look at those old trail cameras. If I've got a deer doing it at night and showing me his cards and where he's doing it at night, I know that he will do it in daylight, but I have to be the trail camera. So be the trail camera, be there in front of when he's going to do it. Don't pay attention to this trail camera and what it showed you last year. This year's a different year. You know where he likes to be, at what time of year he likes to be there. And now as we're hitting November 1 through the 15th, you got the full moon on the 13th, 14th, 15th. One of those big bucks are going to walk in daylight the 13th, 14th, 15th. So if you can't get them killed till then, you're going to get them killed or going to get an opportunity to be in that stand 13th, 14th, 15th of November. But be the trail camera this week on those spots where they're nocturnal, and you're going to get a shot at him. The first time he daylights is the first time he dies. Does that make sense?
Yeah, man.
You got more?
Well, we got
plenty. Got a game.
Oh, we got something special. So you're Chris, and I'm Chris, and we sit across from each other through glass. So I'm going to call this segment Criss-cross.
Criss-cross.
It'll make you jump.
Criss-cross.
Yeah.
It'll make
so,
you jump.
Yeah.
Jump.
Yeah. So
you're dating yourself.
Well, you know,
on that one.
I feel like
we're in our 40s.
At least some of our audience will know that reference. So yeah, Criss-cross. So
hey, you should have gone like that for Halloween. You and the wife is Criss-cross.
There's still time.
There's still time. We're filming it right before November 1. But
yeah, that's true.
You could Criss-cross it. Do you still have a starter jersey?
Oh, I had one. I don't know if I do anymore. I'll see what I can figure out.
Oh, yeah.
Well, actually, we should go as Criss-cross.
I know that I'll be hunting Halloween night because that's the one advantage I got. Everybody else will be trick-or-treating.
That's a good point.
And I'll be being a spook in the woods.
That's a good point.
I know it.
Yeah.
I know it.
Okay, so here's how we're going to do this.
Criss-cross.
So in the live room where you're filming this, you have in your mug a collection of little note cards that I folded in half so you can't see what they say. And I have the same here in the control room. So you're going to just pull one out randomly, and I'm going to pull one out randomly, and together it is going to make a question for us to answer together. Okay, so just go ahead and pull a random one out. Here we go. Criss-cross will make you
jump.
And pull out a question. Okay, so
do I read it yet?
I will read the first part.
Okay.
Or wait. No, you go ahead and read yours.
Okay. Forms of transportation: car, airplane, trains, etc.
Yeah. Okay. And mine says starts with the letter C. So we're gonna have 30 seconds here to think of as many forms of transportation or types of transportation.
You know, I'm only good at deer hunting, land.
Oh, I know. That's why we're doing this.
We
got to find something that I can contribute here. I'm trying. So, okay. So here we go.
Cars, airplanes, trains, etc.
Yeah. So
with
cars.
A C.
Cars. I guess cabs.
Corvette.
That is it. Yeah. Corvette.
Cadillac.
Oh, nice. What else do we have? What kind of airplanes or trains or earth-moving equipment? Caterpillar, like tractors.
Caterpillar tractors.
Yeah, or Caterpillar tractors. Yeah.
Case tractors.
Oh,
Shout
nice.
out to Mike Schmidt.
Okay. What else do we have? I don't know. Ow! I wasn't even keeping track of how many we got.
A coupe?
Oh, coupe. That's great. Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's...
How do we not have any... There's no trains with a C.
Not that I can think of. Okay, so that's the first one.
Do we have any airplanes with a C? I don't know of any.
I don't know. I got to think about that. Yeah,
we had lots of cars.
Maybe viewers will have some additional things. Okay, pull out another one.
Okay, that was one.
All right, let's see here.
I'm shutting my eyes. I'm in the mug.
Okay.
Ready?
So I'm gonna say afraid of.
Celebrities.
Oh, okay. Celebrities that we're afraid of in 3, 2, 1.
I'm
go.
afraid of Jack Nicklaus in The Shining.
Oh, that's fair. Let's see. Who am I afraid of? I mean, there's
Freddy
like
Krueger
all those
in
horror films,
1989.
right? It's like around Halloween, right? Like that makes sense.
What do you?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, you mentioned The Shining. Signs was kind of freaky.
Oh, I hate aliens.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm
okay.
scared of aliens
because they steal your deer.
True.
Celebrities. Why? I love all people. No. I don't know.
I'm definitely afraid of Kamala Harris.
Does that count as a celebrity? I don't know.
I don't know. I think she might be more of a celebrity than a good. We will know what when are we voting? When is
it's
the
coming
vote?
up? It'll be less than a week away from when this drops. So
I'm not scared of very much, but in The Shining, here's Johnny Red Rum. I'd love to name a deer Red Rum.
Oh, hey. You never know. Maybe you'll see.
I just named a deer Red Rum. It's this big, wide. He's got a split here. That's Red Rum.
Okay.
Kirk just texted me last night. Said, "What are we going to name this deer?" I can't.
Look at that.
I named one last night, Romp, after the Rompola buck, and he looked big, giant, typical 3-year-old, like a baby giant. And then we got this other one that we may shoot. He's got a big brow tine on one side. But 157, 160-inch deer. His new name is Red Rum.
Okay. Well, look at that. Okay, I think we got like two more to try. Okay, so pull one out. Okay. All right. So go ahead and what does yours say?
Sports teams.
Okay, so I have on your bucket list to see or experience.
Ooh.
So let's think about this. So what are some sports teams that you'd like to see? I mean, so I love the Cubs, but I would love to go to like a Yankee game. I feel like that's something.
Yep, I've been to Yankee Stadium. I'd love to go see the Orioles play with my friend Kirk.
Okay, I hear in Pittsburgh like that
I want to see the
new
kid. I want to see the new kid play.
Okay. Well, and then you've got like the Lakers. I feel like that's something I feel like I need to experience, just seeing them.
I don't want to go to California though.
I would actually love to go to California.
Not anymore. I don't want to. Busch Stadium, dude. I've been to Busch Stadium a million times. Yeah. I've been to the old Ranger Stadium. I've seen the Oakland A's. The greatest sports ever to go anywhere for me was the old Houston Astrodome.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You know what? We didn't even talk about it. The greatest. I was a hockey player for like 15 plus years.
You kind of mentioned that. Yeah.
I would love to go see more arenas.
Okay. Yeah.
There's some amazing arenas out there.
Did you ever get to see, say, like Gretzky? Or like, did you go into any professional games?
I have been to a Blackhawk game. I have been to a Bulls game, and I have been to Blues game, Bulls game. Blues, Bulls. Never even been to a high school football game. Never been to a football game.
Wait. You've never been to a high school football game in your life?
No.
How is that even?
Because I got bullied.
Wow.
I would have ended up like with a swirly. Like as a senior, I played hockey every Friday, so I didn't go to games. But like as a freshman and stuff, nah, man. Like if I went, there were so many bullies. You know, I wasn't always 6'1", 270. Like I was a little dude. You know, I was a year behind going into high school, and I got bullied my whole life. And it's probably one of the reasons that I fought, and probably one of the reasons why I'm tougher now is because I had to make it through that.
Oh man, that's interesting.
I didn't have a safe place, Griff.
Well, this is a safe place. This is a safe place for you. Yeah. I'm here to help with that too. Okay, last ones. All right. So, what does yours say?
Mine says breeds of dogs.
Breeds of dogs that you've seen in person. So, like dogs that you've actually like met face to face.
What about our favorites?
That we could do that. I mean, it doesn't.
Let's do favorites.
All right. So I've got a Jack Russell Terrier. So that is one of my favorites.
I seen one chase a buffalo once.
A Jack Russell.
Yep.
Oh wait, we got to keep going.
I love labs. Chocolates are my favorite.
Okay.
Red are probably next.
I mean, collies. I'm a fan of.
The wildest one was a bull mastiff. I have a fake imaginary dog that if I ever got one, his name was Bobby, and it was a little bitty one of the miniature shepherd, herding dogs.
Yeah, I don't know.
Then you got bloodhounds. I've had them track whitetails. They're some of the most amazing critters on the planet.
For sure.
Bloodhounds. But they have personalities. You can't get mad at them or scold them. They'll remember forever.
Yeah. I think bulldogs are really cool, but
they can't breathe.
Yeah. Yeah, so they
it's
make noise and slobber and stuff. So
they can't breathe. Every one of them I know has to have like new nostrils.
Like I think they're cute and like sort of like in their own way, but I don't know if I'd want to own one. I think that would be a lot.
Like I have met like little Shih Tzu kind of little fun dogs like that. I can imagine me having like this cool little fun dog.
Yeah. It'd be awesome if you had like just this little bitty like purse dog, but was trained to help you track deer or something. That would be amazing.
They make one. They make one. My friend Ryan Dallas has
like
one.
a little miniature schnauzer.
It's like a little schnauzer thing that looks like a wiener dog, but it's a little bit bigger. And my friend had one, and it tracks blood. They just used one the other day. I've got a picture of it. They used one to track Logan's dog. But then they have a Drothau. Have you ever seen those? Like a bird dog?
Okay, sure.
Them are pretty cool.
Yeah.
What's your favorite? What's one are you scared of?
That I'm scared of?
Mm-hmm. Do you know I was a mailman?
I did not know.
Do you know how I've been chased by hundreds of dogs?
Yeah. Like Dobermans or
I've had them. I've had
bulls.
Dobermans and Rottweilers jump up and just ripped my mailman shirt and just missed like giving me stitches.
Oh my goodness.
Scariest dog for me, Dalmatians.
So there's the movie and everything, but I hear that
ill.
They're really not good dogs to have as
around
pets.
Kids, especially.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe our firefighters out there.
I don't know. I mean, is that a real thing? Like, how often do they actually use Dalmatians, or is that just more like something you see in like commercials and movies?
Oh, dude, I think they used to use Dalmatians on fire trucks in like New York and stuff.
Okay.
Like back in the old days.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe.
I mean, I truly don't know. But all right. Well, hey, that's our
gotta
first
be true. It was on TV.
Always
in the Disney movies.
Yeah. Well, that was our first edition of Criss-cross. How'd that work out for you, man?
It was
yes,
okay.
Yay, nay.
It was okay.
It's not the most amazing thing we've done, but
I wish I had longer time to think.
Yeah. Well, that's part of the beauty of it. We would try to get through it because we got so many questions.
Okay.
We got so many questions we got to get through, which once again, if you have questions for the show, you can call the landline at
309-761-5263. What is the where would you go watch a hockey game at? Out of everywhere.
If I had a choice?
Yeah.
I mean, I would go to the United Center to watch the Blackhawks, and hopefully they'll be good this year. I think in their in the heyday. So I had gotten tickets for box seats. For the Blackhawks, but the day that the Cubs clinched the World Series. So of course I'm not going to that game.
No.
But that was my only time that it was like amazing seats, like private box. And I was like, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not going.
My friend Kevin Olson from Wisconsin up there, shout out Kevin. He's a hockey psychopath. Like he is all hockey, hangs out with different players, some Minnesota teams, and he goes fishing with one of the coaches and one of the families, like a really well-known hockey family, and they hang out a lot. And my dream is to go to an NHL game with him somewhere in the future.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my dream.
Yeah,
that's what I want to do. Hockey teams.
Hockey. Okay, well, so let's get into a few questions because I know, like, in a lot of ways, this is what people have been waiting for, right? Like, we're entering the rut.
They're driving. There is a enormous percentage of the country of men and women that have been saving up all year. They're bought properties. People buy properties in the Midwest or whatever. There are a lot of people traveling right now, listening to this podcast, thinking of what's their favorite dogs and where they would want to go watch baseball and hockey, and they're having that conversation right now. But they are listening to this pod, and I did Hunter podcast, which will come out on November 5th, and then I did Fistful of Dirt with Mossy Oak, Cuz Strickland. So a lot of pods to be listening to while driving to the Midwest or wherever you're going to hunting camp. So be safe. Check your safety lines, wear your safety harness. don't shoot anybody. Make sure what you're shooting at. There's no deer worth, an errant shot. So that's what your fellow hunter here just saying, hey, have fun. But be safe, and you're having I'm giving you a shout out right now, headed wherever you're going, be safe. And, just kind of pay attention, right? I mean, that's all it does.
Yeah.
Just saying, hey, pay attention, take calm. It's going to be a great season. You got plenty of time. Headed to the Midwest, listening. Be safe out there.
All right, here we go.
Hey, Chris. First time caller, and I followed you from the very beginning. Love what you've done for the sport, and I've loved that you have come back to the sport. And
everybody loves
my question is, I'm from Illinois, Northern Illinois. My question is the debate of when to shoot does. Love venison. Family and I eat it 3-4 times a week, but I also love chasing mature big bucks. Argument with my buddies and I are as always, don't shoot them early because then you don't have the does around for the rut. Don't shoot them after the rut because they could be pregnant. So in your opinion, when would you chase the does and be safe to shoot them and not interrupt your buck hunting as well? Appreciate everything that you've done, and have a great hunt season.
Thanks, my brother. So for me, this is a debate that's still out. I don't think I land on a very solid ground when it comes to this question. So for me, I'm going to shoot. We've talked about it a little bit before, and I don't know if it's on this podcast, but there is too much intelligent information from whitetail biologists to tell me that a doe that has button buck fawns, right? So off, no spots, right? So fully grown, feeding off alfalfa, surviving on their own fawns that are buck fawns that have a doe with them. If you were going to shoot a doe, I don't really think that it matters what time of year you shoot them, as long as you're paying attention, one, to finding out if she has buck fawns, she's going to kick those fawns away from her by November 5th, 6th. As she comes into estrus, she's going to kick those buck fawns away because the buck's going to run them off. Those buck fawns are programmed and engineered to go mile and a half, 2 miles away to live their life so that the genes don't spread. Now, in cases like my management style and other people's management styles where they don't kill a lot of does or to harvest a lot of does, you're going to find that those bucks will travel back to that core area that they were born in as they get older. And so I think that you kind of have to make a decision on, am I taking out this genetic, am I taking out these genes and I think a lot of people think that they can control the genes on whitetails more than they can. It's a wise tale to think that you can outshoot an 8-point genetic when you don't have thousands of acres to control. I really think that you have to get rid of the genetic argument and you have to look at what you're trying to accomplish. If you are a person that wants a lot more bucks to stay on your property and to kind of keep those genes there, I think you selectively make sure that, one, it's cool enough at night to shoot the doe and take care of her properly and hang the meat up and do something with the meat and enjoy it as fresh as possible. Try to shoot those deer away from the core area. And I'm not so much on time of year. If I get a big old fat doe and she's got 2 button buck fawns, I'm going to look for a couple things. If she has really big white patch and white legs and white around her eyes, for me personally, I believe that her genetics are superior, because anytime I see really great colors and facial features and really good bone structure, I believe that's a very healthy animal. Does that make sense? Like,
sure.
In birds, in cats, and dogs, like This in horses, you see it a lot. Very shiny fur, very great colorations of things, really shows herd health in animals that I think people don't talk about. So if I see a doe come out, the other night I had a doe come out, double white patch, big white eyes, fawns with her, I know that that doe is superior in her genetics. Why? Because most of the double white deer I've killed off of the property have had incredible antlers and incredible body weights. Even the deer I shot last year had a giant white patch, bigger than normal, and big white eyes, and weighed way more than a regular deer. And every time I've ever seen this coloration on deer, and realize what I'm saying, big white circles on their eyes, white on the mouth, white on the chest, they are way more pretty than a normal deer. So I'm going to favor a very bland looking whitetail deer doe at any time of the year. I'm not going to shoot them in the woods where they can ruin my property. I'm going to hunt does on the edge of fields that they're not going to be able to run very far. And then I'm going to target those ones that don't have the great genetic colorations. And I'm also going to shoot the ones that have 2 buck fawns, so the buck fawns stay on the farm and in the area. Essentially, you don't think of it as sad, but they know that their mom's gone, so they end up staying there the rest of their lives. And so for me, I'm going to try to keep more bucks on the farm, and I'm going to selectively harvest the does based on the coloration, number one. Number two, last season, when I had all my food, I could watch the hierarchy of these huge older does. And I waited till the last 2 days of the season, and I went in on the last day of gun season, and I took out 2 big, giant, mature 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old does. Boom, boom, shot 2 of them in one night, got them out of there. That way I'm processing 2 deer, I'm taking care of 2 deer, I'm doing it on both on the same night. Then at the end of the bow season, I went out late season, and I had these does that I noticed they were the ringleaders of all the herd that were dictating when the deer came into the field, when they left. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to curb that learning curve of the knowledge of that herd. So I took out and went after these matriarch type does that were super ancient, that were dictating the movement and the sixth sense of my doe herd and even my bucks coming out, because all the does would come out to the food, and then the bucks would come out later on, and then that big doe, she would always know what a blind was. She would always say the gig is up, and everybody would leave the field. So I'm going to target those does that know where I'm at and that are more intelligent and older than all the rest. Now, I also, and this is a really complicated question for a silly little doe question, but I also pay attention to the does that let me get away with stuff. I have does, and especially on my properties the last couple of years, my personal stuff, that when they smell me, they just put their nose up in the air and leave. They don't blow. And these are does that are comfortable with me. And you see it a lot in management when you kind of get this symbiotic relationship with, like, that's my caretaker of the land. I'm okay with giving him a free pass. But there are does that are straight up evil, and there are does that are straight up just mad and mean. And I target those animals because I don't want them to tell the world that the boogeyman is there. I want does that are very chill, to human response, to my smell, to Farmer Chris's smell. I'll let them have a free pass. But if they're loudmouths and they're really kind of mean and loud or whatever, they're taking a ride to Sausage Town, hanging backstraps.
All right.
There's a long answer for a doe question.
A lot longer than I would have expected, but hopefully there's a lot of good info for people to kind of process.
I think there's a lot of that people don't take into consideration, that when I've never asked that question, I never would have thought about looking at the colors on a doe.
Yeah.
How you doing, Chris? This is Ryan from Central Michigan. I'm hunting a big timber piece, about 80 acres, and my question is, when is the best time to get in and out of the woods, especially now that we're starting to get into the rut, hunting some mornings, and those are going to be some cool mornings? Are you getting in and out when it's really windy, or maybe when it's a little wet outside, or are you charging in when you are also don't have those conditions and it's super calm, dead outside? Thanks. Love the show, man.
Well, Ryan, those are some really great questions. So the first thing I have to do is say, man, what a great way of thinking, and what a great way of paying attention to the right elements. You are on the right track. 80-acre tract, I want to find out. First thing I'm going to do, Ryan, is I'm going to look on Onyx. I'm going to find your map of your timber. I'm going to take a 10,000-foot view like I'm on a plane, 14,000 feet. I'm going to look at hundreds of acres, then thousands of acres. I want to find out where your deer are feeding at night in the bigger fields, and then how long my estimated look is at how they're drifting back to get into your timber. If you are farther away from from the ag fields, it may take these deer till 9 o'clock in the morning to get in there and then do their stuff. And then normally once the does get back to the old coffee shop and they're telling everybody about how their night went and they're hanging out, then the bucks show up. Then they kind of ruin the party and disperse the does during the rut as we look at November here. So I'm going to look at one, your place is going to dictate more to morning movement because it's a timber place, and you're going to get in early in the morning, sit there, make sure you sit through the morning till even 11 o'clock in the morning, even noon, because your movement is going to be later in the morning because you're at a timber spot. So at a full timber spot in October, it's going to be really hard for me to invade that and hunt it in October, because you are a morning spot kind of guy at this 80-acre block. Get in there early, sit as long as you can, because you don't really have your highest odds of hunting a timber block in the afternoon because you just can't get in there. So I don't want to bust the deer out of the 80 acres. If I've got a real big deer that I'm after, I'm going to look at that barometer to be 30.2 to 30.5. Those are the particular days that the deer are going to move. And then how long I think it's going to take them to get from the fields back to the timber. And then I'm going to have longer sits in November on days that it's crisp and cool in the morning, that I've got barometer over 30.2. Seems like me and Bobby have been talking, Bobby Kendall, me have been talking about the barometer a lot, 30.2 and up. Going to be the days. That's not always the gospel on whitetails, but that is a really good guess of the days that are going to be higher movement than others. And that's it. It's morning in the timber. Wind is a very good determinant of scouting and getting in undetected. Rain as well as getting in undetected into timber areas. So you are thinking correct. I'd look at that barometer. I'd look at those stronger winds, 7 mile an hour and over, allowing you to get away with a little bit more, but you're definitely spot on the way you're thinking. Good luck out there. Make sure you shoot them in the back of the lungs and liver, and leave them alone to let them die. Let the broadhead do the work.
Chris, Mike here, Illinois. First, appreciate what you do for us. Learned a ton from you. My question is, obviously, November's coming up big time for the rut. What's your opinion on the warm weather once again, about the first 2 weeks in November? How do you approach that? And do you think that slows the deer movement down a ton during the daytime? Appreciate it.
So much warm weather.
Warm weather questions. This is just one of those years, November. I actually heard that I keep up to track on the storms coming out of like hurricanes. And so some of my lineman friends are preparing for, storms that should be hitting Florida, which really screws up the system, which gets us that southeast winds, which brings the hot and the moisture. And, once we hit November 5th through, let's say, that 15th or that 24th. In October, I am a real stickler for perfect, consistent 5 to 7 mile an hour winds, consistency over everything, weather dictating movement. Understand, I'm all tangled in my cord here. Understand that that I hunt from October till January the same stands and the same blinds because of the consistent wind. The weather will dictate if I see that deer or not, or a higher, greater advantage to seeing that bigger buck. But realize that I'm still hunting even if the barometer's 28, even or 29, let's say, and even if the wind is consistent, I'm still hunting. Even if it's cold and the wind is swirling, which doesn't happen very often, but if it's cold and the wind is swirling, I'm not hunting. So it doesn't matter how much movement you get on your cameras. It doesn't matter how much of anything else. If that wind's not consistent, you can't go in after them. I'm just going to watch for that consistency. What was his main point there? He was Illinois.
Yeah, well, he was asking just
the hot,
kind of with it being warm, like what to expect. Should you get out there? Or?
Well, we can't. I think it breaks down to A and B. A is I have a target buck I want to kill, and that's my guy, and I'm going to do everything I can to kill that target buck. That's how I hunt. I'm trying to find a deer, and I'm going after him. Okay. And in that frame of mind, a certain deer on a certain property or two properties that have certain deer I'm after, I have to hunt that deer before the neighbors get him. I have to hunt that deer before his butt gets hit by a car. I have to hunt that animal. And so that's going to dictate, I'm going to hunt every chance I get as long as I have a consistent wind. If I am out as an equal opportunistic deer hunting predator, fill my freezer, maybe I might get a big buck, maybe I won't. And I know that I have 10 really good days to go experience all that the essence of fall and the rut and the deery stuff have to give me, then I'm okay with sitting nights out that might not be perfect. Does it make sense what I'm saying? Like you have to decide who you are. If you're after one particular deer, you have to go in and hunt him and push the limits a little bit as we get into this November. You got to be in there because he's going to mess up and because of the disastrous, breeding season and rutting and fighting and whatever, you're going to be able to get away with a little more. Even if they smell you, they're probably going to come back to that area. As long as that doe does, then this is where that doe giving you a free pass. Sometimes they're more worried about getting those antlers up there behind than that guy in the tree, and they'll give you a free pass, which will bring him right by you, and you can get him killed. If you're the latter of the guy going, hey, I'm just looking for a nice buck and really want to see a lot of deer, and I think that's a lot of people, then you can be more selective on, well, it's going to be too hot today. Don't talk yourself out of going, but I think this answers the question in a nutshell. If you got your smoking hot wife and you got to have a date night, I'm going to take her out on the day that the pressure's low and the heat is up. And if the next day the pressure's up and it's calling for colder, plan your hunt around that heat. I think that answers it, right?
Sure. Yeah.
You have 2 days. One day's hot, one day's cold. You can't hunt both because you have family obligations. You're going to pick the cold one with the high pressure.
So you were mentioning wind too. So here's a kind of question regarding that.
Hey, Chris, this is Adam. I had a question for you in regards to cruising bucks during the rut. Question is, in your experience, do you normally see cruising bucks traveling perpendicular to prevailing wind patterns? I've heard that those bucks like to have that wind coming across their nose as they're scent checking for does, traveling corridors, heading up towards bedding areas, and just curious if that was your experience as well. Appreciate everything you do. Love the show. Thanks.
You got a dog, right, Chris?
I do.
You got a male or female?
A male dog.
Okay. Have you ever had him or a dog in any scenario on the coldest of nights when the wind's blowing from the north or whatever, and he takes off into the night and you're like, you got to be kidding me. Not tonight. It's freezing cold. I'm worried about the dog. And now I have to go out into the cold. And you wonder why that dog takes off at that, at that particular moment. Have you ever had that happen?
I mean, yeah, we got a Jack Russell, so he was like bred to track down things.
Yeah.
So like he'll get a scent and he'll take off.
Yep. So I think I want to throw this out there. I need people to realize that a mile away, a buck can smell what's going in if the wind is consistent, 10, 15 miles an hour, consistently blowing from a block of timber or a ditch of a thicket that's got a hot doe in there, that she's been in there giving off all this scent. Like any dog or coyote or deer, they can smell a mile away downwind of where all this is happening. That's why you see a buck come out of this woods, tongue hanging out, running across 3 lanes of traffic to get to another block, because he has been able, depending on the molecular structure of like the molecules of tasting the air with, with it being so dry out, no, the scent doesn't go as far as it can when there's a lot of water molecules in the air and high humidity. So understand that, yes, the answer is paralleling or running where a buck's trying to catch, an estrus doe or in a thicket and or other big bucks, and kind of the breeding, frenzy that's going on. He's trying to smell that and he'll parallel that. But I also don't want to rule out the fact that deer are creatures of habit, and deer are trying to conserve energy and hit as many places as possible. If you are, if you're trying to find something, you're just going to go from room to room to room as fast as you can and just scan first before you dive in deep. And that's what these bucks are doing. Do not give them too much logic. The fact is that a deer leaves this point over here and goes to this point over here to go, search essentially different doe bedrooms, more bedrooms, like match the hatch. I talked about that on like episode 8 or whatever, or I talked about it on one of the other podcasts where I'm talking about matching the hatch. If you're seeing doe and buck behavior into like a greenbrier multiflora rose thicket, and those does have headed into that thicker cover, I want you to think on your farm where you can match that type of topography or that type of woods. That's where all the deer are going to be at that time. I know right now my does are in this greenbrier patch, eating on the briars and browsing on the briars. And then I've got 3-year-olds chasing this doe group every single night in this corner of my property, every night. So I'm trying to think to myself, matching that hatch where this is going on, and then that's going to tell me without invading where these deer are. I believe bucks do cruise the downwind bedding of the bedding area, but don't give them too much credit. If they know where the Baskin Robbins or the Dairy Queen is and they want ice cream, they're just going to the ice cream. They're not going to go downwind of the ice cream, right? Do you understand that? Like, it's real simple. If I want coffee, I'm going to the coffee pot. I'm not going to like go downwind and creep. I don't have time for that stuff. I got baby deer that I want to make, like they're in the rut. They're running around freaking out. They want to fight and they want to breed and they want to do their thing. They're just going to go straight to the Dairy Queen. They're going to go straight to the coffee shop. Don't give them too much credit. Bobby Kendall last night, I can't believe I keep bringing him up, but I guess he's the only one I've been talking so much deer to besides Jared from Hunter Pod. But we've just been talking about, like last night, a big buck showed up that he's been after, and he's like, it was 85 degrees and it was low pressure and whatever. And I said, you're trying to be too smart about a big deer. Stop being smart. Dumb consistency kills giants more than smart strategists that overthink themselves all day long. Today that we're filming October 29th, Mel Johnson Day. Mel Johnson wasn't using scent control with a compound bow. He was wearing a red flannel shirt and brown pants, sitting in a makeshift ladder stand down off Singing Woods Road in Peoria, Illinois, and shot the biggest typical whitetail of all time on October 29th because he was out searching for does on the edge of a soybean field. Dumb luck, consistency, in a place where deer are traveling will always beat intellect as it gets closer to the rut. I always say it, the rut is for rookies. And I mean that in the most fun way ever. You can be a rookie and kill a 300-inch deer. You can be a rookie and kill a 200-inch deer because I've been strategically hunting a deer using as much strategy and as much brain power and as much consistency as possible. And somebody's going to go out this weekend and see one of these big deer that I'm hunting. He's going to be at 20 yards and they didn't even know he was there, and they're going to kill him. And that happens all the time. So consistency, your best guess, and just matching the hatch to the information of where and what you're taking from. Where did you see that buck at? Well, he was in the multiflora rose, going from multiflora rose patch to multiflora rose patch. He came out of this ridge and went down to the bottom, crossed the creek, and up to this other multiflora rose patch. And then you have to say to yourself, all right, where is my multiflora rose patch with, big white oaks above it that are dropping, or red or white oaks that are dropping acorns along this browsy multiflora rose patch? Those deer aren't coming to the food plots. It's not cold enough yet. So they're in there browsing. So where can I get just downwind of this little thicket of multiflora rose, greenbriers, and oaks, and just sit there all day and let dumb stubbornness kill that giant rather than overthinking yourself? Don't be stupid and be so smart. That should be a t-shirt.
We could work on that. Speaking of that, pretty soon, I think it'd be great to add some more things to the website, which is bracketshow.com. Maybe some merchandise. I don't know. We'll see. But also, if you want to be part of the show, you can call the landline, which is 309-761-5263.
And you can call it any time, all weekend, as you're hearing this and you're traveling, you got a question. Call in, leave the message. The voicemail box is ready for you, and you leave a message, you leave a statement, and then we may pick it for the air.
Yeah, so here's one more about the rut before we finish up.
Yeah, Chris, this is Ryan from West Central Illinois, Adams County area. Hey, real quick, your podcast has been great. It's pretty informative, but one question I don't know if you've answered on here, now that I've listened to your first 9, is when it comes to different areas of the state of Illinois versus other states, does the pre-rut differ depending on that area? I do mainly a lot of my hunting on the Missouri side, about 30 miles away. So I've noticed hunting on my Illinois properties and the Missouri properties that sometimes that pre-rut rut portion tends to be a little bit trickier when it comes to figuring out what the deer are doing. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Weather trumps all. Weather trumps all. So born and raised on the summers and in the fall in Adams County. So shout out to Adams County, Mendon, Illinois, Quincy, Illinois. Love Adams County. Some of the best deer hunting I've ever had. Big tracks there. Big tracks, big deer, road systems going back through Rocky Forge and then up north toward Hancock County. That's its own unique beast. So the answer to his question, knowing that area really well and being able to hunt all over the state, one, how the crops come off is a big deal. Central part of the state, right where I got the Clinton farm, those crops come off early. Those are really, really, really big farmers, lots of flat area, small wood lots. Once those crops come off, those deer don't have anywhere else to go. Different than Missouri. So once the crops come off in places like Central Illinois or even parts of Adams County that have the big bottoms. When the farmers get all the crops out and they start flipping the fields, it pushes the deer into the woods and into the little thickets and into the stuff. That is going to dictate how much pre-rut activity you see. Case in point, my farm right now that I personally own is deader than a doornail. Couple really big mature deer doing nighttime moves with a core group of about 6 does. Give me 45 days, Chris. 45 days, I'll have 50 deer on each food plot eating beans. As soon as it freezes, as soon as it gets cold, as soon as their body switches from a little bit of browse to the heavy, the heavy feed, put on the fat, after the, December 1 to December 5th, 50 deer on these food plots. Right now, I got 6 does here, 3 here, and then 2 monster bucks and a couple 3-year-olds running the roost on 100 acres. On my 1,000-acre lease that I hunt about, half of it, I have more 2 and 3-year-old deer that you've ever seen. In that case in point, I've got these giant old mega bucks that weigh 300 pounds that are 6, 7, 8 years old, but because of the way the lease is, I can only I can only take out a certain number of bucks. So I high grade those bucks. I want age and beauty. I don't care so much about the age because, I'm paying for this lease in a special way. So I'm not doing the best for the land, but that's not what the landowner's goal is. So that's different than my own property. You are going to see the difference in across Illinois strictly being how the crops come off, my friend. Like that is what's going to dictate everything. Crops and then weather. Is that weather dropping cold enough to force the feed instinct to switch it from acorns and browse to greens, alfalfa? Like if you have alfalfa and acorns and browse right now, you got all the deer. If you have clover, brassicas, and standing corn and standing beans, if you mow that corn, you're going to have all the deer because they really like candy. But they're not putting on their feed bags. So all these food plots you all put on and you're hunting the food plots, get off the food plots. You're hitting scrapes on the edge of the timber and you're hunting in the morning starting November 1, which is today, into the oaks and the browse. And that's what's going to dictate really what's going on. And right now I know that I got a couple does that are really close to going into estrus. I need a west wind. I'll go in there to this little corner. She's eating browse, acorns, and a little bit of clover, and she's got some native grasses around her, and then she's got this little area that she goes out into this pasture, and she's going to be, coming into estrus, and all the big boys are going to be in that corner within the next 3 to 4 days. So we're going to have some big action. And that clover... Ironically, that clover is White Gold Clover Rush. They are one of the people bringing you this pod. Give them some love. Go give them a follow. This is White Gold. They're out of Michigan, Clare, Michigan, Johnson Elevators. This is one of my favorite Clover Rush, one of my favorite perennial clover mixes. This is made from really fresh quality seed delivered to your door. Go check out whitegolddeerfeed.com. They have everything. They have this. I have a new switchgrass blend that I have out called Fort Knox Claim Jumper. I mix with Gold Fever. That's my brassica blend. And then I put Klondike over the entire thing. I also want to give a shout out to Diamond Blinds. They're out of Missouri. They're my blind of choice. And really good guys there. Hand-built custom blinds. Check out diamondblinds.com. That's a big deal. And then the lowdown.
Give us the lowdown.
The lowdown is the kind of the final stage of today. This episode. The lowdown is a high-speed trail camera viewer. It is essentially a tablet that you can hook up HDMI to your television. Instead of using your computer to look through all your SD cards and go through all that stuff, you can save to a master, the master bigger card, and pick out your buck pictures and save them all there. And then, so when your friends come into camp, or you're showing your wife, or you're wanting to go through your target bucks for the year and, throughout the week, you can save all your pick and choose to your, touch, your little touch screen. And I just love this thing. It's super fast. It's super easy. It's called the Lowdown. It's a high-speed trail camera viewer. Check them out at lowdownviewer.com. Shout out, they're out of Wisconsin. And the lowdown for this week, the rut breakdown is you're going to have crappy winds and a crappy system and a crappy weather and everything dictating this very beginning of November. But it is going to be cooler than last week. Last week has been hot and east winds. You're just going to have to pay attention, because this is the beginning of the grind. The grind is from November 1 today through November 15th. You can start invading the early mornings. Make sure, if it was me, the lowdown is I would be sitting late in the morning till 11 and noon. I really feel that the light switch is going to flip from November 1 all the way through November 15th. You've got the full moon coming on the 13th, 14th, 15th. As long as this precipitation gives us, it's going to spread. I think the precipitation that's coming, depending on how much we get. Remember, these deer don't have to drink a whole lot. They've been really thirsty for a long time. It's had them concentrated around creeks and in deep into this timber where the runoff is, or wherever the water's kept these deer from being spread out. Now that we're getting precipitation and water, they're good enough with just drinking off of a leaf, a little puddle. That's all they need. So these deer, as they start breeding these does, they're going to dissipate from the areas that they've been. If it's been feast for you in these little small woodlots that had water and browse and everything, and all of a sudden as we're getting water and they're spread out, these deer are going to be spread out all over the place. And so be looking for big cruising bucks, using decoys out in fields, kind of stay out of the thick stuff. If we get some of this water and some of this rain, you're going to have a lot of deer cruising, looking for fights, and practice while you're driving to your location with a little snort wheeze. It's 2, 3 big, and then you just got this. You're going to be better off to give them one snort wheeze and a couple little grunts. Make sure they're not looking at you when you do it. They will pinpoint you right away. And if you're apprehensive at all about being able to fool them, then don't do it. Don't give up your location. Less is more. Make sure they're looking away when you do it, and make sure they're upwind. If they're downwind when you do it, they're going to come in downwind, smell you, and you're going to give away your position. So as we get into November, you just want to tighten up your, this is the time you've waited your whole year for. Tighten it up. Be out there. Be the trail camera. Listen to me. Don't wait for the trail camera to take a picture and then go hunt the deer. Go be the trail camera. Enjoy your hunt. Enjoy your plan that you've set out to do. And if you get a rain, don't be scared to carry in like a lone wolf custom stand or some light custom stand, or some light lone wolf type stand, and get in there and throw a couple sticks up and sit it out for the day. Be mobile. Hunt off the ground if you have to, next to a tree. Anything could happen. Make sure the wind's in your face. And listen to me. I've already had so many listeners make so many mistakes when shooting a deer. If you are shooting a gun or a bow and you hit that animal, if you do not see blood flying out of the side of it everywhere and it's covered everything, and see it fall, leave the area. Don't walk toward where the shot was. Leave the area and give it 3 to 6 hours. If it's dead now in 6 minutes, it'll be dead in 6 hours, and you'll get your animal. You owe it to the animal. You just spent, years getting up to this moment. Back out. You can wait another 6 hours. You can be patient. You're a hunter. Listen to the words I say. If you shoot the deer and you don't see it fall, don't go pick up your arrow. Get the crap out of there for 2 hours, an hour and a half. Go take a nap. Go get a burger. Go get a beer. It doesn't matter. Come back. Then look at your arrow. Then decide if you're going to track. The first time you bump that deer, you cut your chances of finding that deer by 80%. Don't rely on a drone or a dog to do it. You're better than that. Make sure you're using a big broadhead. Shoot them in the back of the lung. Shoot them in the liver. Get down. Don't get your arrow and get out of there. Go have a burger. Go enjoy your family. Bring the family back to come look at the arrow 3-6 hours later. They'll go into septic shock if you shoot them in the liver or the guts. You're better off being back there to kill that animal and give it the right time to expire than to shoot them in the shoulder or shoot them somewhere and kick them up. Don't be a butthead about it. If you don't watch him fall, leave him alone for hours. I'm talking to you real because this is a dang blood sport. You're trying to kill the animal. You're not just trying to, I may make a clean kill. The odds are that you're going to mess up. We're all human. Give the deer ample amount of time to die. Well, I don't want the coyotes to get it. It's the fact that there's coyotes out there. You can't control the outcome. You can only control yourself and being disciplined to get out and back out and let the broadhead or the bullet do the job. If you cut them in the liver, it may take 6 to 10 hours to die. And I just can't preach this enough. Don't walk toward the arrow. Don't walk toward the deer. Sneak out of there. Go have dinner. Go have breakfast. Go have lunch. Then come back and sneak into the area. Don't be a butthead. Don't be a butthead.
All right.
The final words are don't be a butthead.
Yeah.
Just let the deer, you're playing a blood sport. Let them have the time to die. You owe it to them. I mean, we're not, every perfect world, you'd shoot his heart and he'd instantly die and, become a deer angel and what. That's not the world we live in. We're shooting sticks at things with sharp. Sharp rocks are in the front of sticks, and we're shooting them at big furry deer that don't want to die. I mean, come on. So let's be real. If you're shooting the thing, get the crap out of there. Don't look at the arrow. Literally nightmare stories. Guys telling me, I've waited. I had the full moon. The vampire walked. The buck came out. I shot. And I hit him, and I got down, and I looked at the arrow, and I had a little blood. And then I got out of there, and they say, can you call me? Can you call me? What do I do? And I go, you already screwed the pooch, man. You already went to the arrow. You already tracked him, and you're never going to find the deer. And guess what? They never find the deer. If they just would have got down, saw the arrow over there, or just saw where he went, and they snuck out of there and came back 6 hours later, Chris, that deer would have ran in the woods, stopped about 60, 80 yards with a little gut shot, a little liver shot, maybe one lung. He would have stood there, he would have laid down, and he would have passed away, and he would have died, and you would have burger and venison and antlers and a trophy and a story, but don't be a butthead. Back out, dude. Don't back out after you find the arrow. I'm going to keep repeating this. Don't back out after you find the arrow. Get down and sneak out of there. Be sneaky. Get out of there. You're better than that.
Yeah, that.
You're
also,
better than that.
Also, be the trail camera.
Yeah.
I am the trail cam.
Be the trail camera. And that's a Mark Drury thing. That's not a Chris Brackett thing. You might like Mark better than me, but he would always tell me when we would visit during the rut 10, 15 years ago, Chris, be the trail camera. Be the trail camera. Be the trail camera. Don't wait for the camera to go off and then hunt them.
All right.
You can't kill the deer you're after, on that farm. So if you wonder why I don't hunt every day after a certain deer, I'm after a deer on a certain farm, and I will be so disciplined that I will hunt that deer until that deer, dies or gets abducted by aliens. I will hunt that deer on that farm. I'm willing to do that because I know I have food later on in the year and I can capitalize on 2 other big deer that may be big strangers. But remember, pick the kind of hunter you want to be. There's so many of my friends right now are relying on these trail cameras to tell them everything going on in the woods. They may have 10 trail cameras on 200 acres and they think they know what's going on out there. They're fooling themselves. You're not being a woodsman. You're being a computer geek voyeur looking on your phone. Go be in the woods, play the wind, and you'll be blessed beyond belief, because you're embracing the whole reason why we hunt. Don't get caught up in technology, man. It's ruining hunting, dude. It's ruining it. So that's November 1, episode 11 of The Brackett Show. Chris, thanks for everything you do. And if people are starting to ask about consults, they're anywhere from between $3,800 and $7,500 for an entire coaching year, and me coming to your property and doing all that stuff. You can check it out on Go Land Life. You
can also find same information at brackettsshow.com. So if you happen to go there, check it out.
BRACKETT show.com. You're sitting in a stand, you're listening to this, or you want to check something out later on. All the episodes are on there. You guys can click on there, and it'll just keep growing. And, man, Chris, thanks for helping produce this and reaching a lot of people. And be safe out there, y'all. Listen, I'm old, and I feel like I wish 20 years ago, after falling out of a couple stands, that I would have always used a lifeline to climb up to the top and get in my stand, and I do now. Hank Parker just fell out of a stand. He's fine. But listen, there's a lot of people paralyzed. A lot of people die from tree stand accidents. So the one thing I can tell you is that if you're going to be putting up blinds or stands or whatever, take all these safety lines and these, do you know what I'm talking about? I put them up there, and I never am detached from the stand. Like going you have to put it up. Yeah. And so I just say, get some sodium benzene, some spray, dump it in a tote, and all your straps and all your stuff you're taking to the field, soak that in a bucket full of scent elimination, and you're going to be better off. You won't have giant scent wicks out in the stand. So you owe it to your family to come home. So use a landline, or a tree line, or a tree life.
You can
line,
use the landline too, but there you
lifeline,
go.
Lifeline. All right, thanks everybody. Go check it out, brackettsshow.com.